Alright, Assalamualaikum and have a very sorry, Assalamualaikum and a very good day, everyone. Alright, so today I'll be continuing the session in PTG mode, and I'll be giving you the pre-recorded video on this week's chapter, which is chapter 9. Okay, I'll be sharing my screen right now. Alright. So today we'll be doing something on chapter 9, or the title of chapter is Managing Conflict in Relationship. Right, so how do we define interpersonal conflict? Usually in chapter 1, we have already defined the relationship that we have, which is uh, I, you, and also I, thou. So usually conflict occurs when people in I, you, all right, or I, thou relationship, they have different views. They have different interests or goals and feel a need to resolve those differences. So usually in interpersonal conflict, there will be expressed tension, meaning that you're going to have disagreement, struggle, or maybe disharmony in your relationship. And also you're going to have interdependence, whereby all parties will involve in the conflict and they must depend upon each other, all right, in order for them to resolve the conflict. Other than that, they're going to have also perceived incompatible goals. For example, me and also my partner, we have different kind of goals. I like the black color tiles, for example. My partner like the white color tiles, for example. So they will be incompatible in the goals of looking for the best tiles to be put in our house. All right, and also you're gonna have the felt need for resolution. All right, in choosing the tiles for our house, okay, we will try to find the best way. We are in grave need to find the best way for resolution to get the best tiles to be put in our house, because this is something that we share together. And this particular partner is also someone who I am involved in I-DAO communication kind of relationship. So there are a few principles of conflict. Number one, conflict is natural in most Western relationship. All right. This is because in the Western perspective, they think that engaging in conflict actually shows that you care, right? But then in some Eastern culture, they do not see conflict as something which is healthy, right? For them, some conflict in Eastern culture, conflict is much more of bringing up tensions or trying to be going against each other. But then in the Western culture, they think that when you are involved in conflict, when you are arguing, it is actually showing that you care. Marah sebab sayang, for example, right? Okay, and that conflict may be expressed overtly or covertly. All right, it can be very obvious. It can also be very subtle. Okay, overt here means when people deal with their differences in a direct, straightforward manner. All right, so when you found something that you don't like, or when you are in disagreement of something, you're gonna straight away express your disagreement. You're gonna straight away tell the people that you are involved with the conflict, right, that you do not like this or you have other things in mind. All right, but when you are expressing your conflict covertly, all right, it happens when people express their feelings about disagreement indirectly. For example, when angry, a person maybe deliberately do something to hurt or upset another person. Okay. So in the covert conflict, there are a few components that we can see in covert conflict. Number one, passive aggression. Okay, for passive aggression, it occurs or it happens when individuals act aggressively but deny the aggressive behavior. All right. For example, let's take Abu for example. So if Abu didn't call his father every week, his father suddenly forgets to send him money. Maybe if you do not call your mom every week, for example, and then your mom will not tend to transfer some money for you to use. Right, so that is a passive aggression. All right, and then sometimes we also have the term that we call games. All right, games in covert conflict. All right, games can be defined as a highly patterned interaction in which the real conflicts are hidden or denied, and a counterfeit excuse is created for arguing or criticizing. All right. It is almost quite similar with passive aggression, right? But then in games, when you are expressing your covert conflict in form of games, usually there are a few games that I will be showing you after this. Not like actual game that you will be playing, but these are called the games of those the games of covert conflict. You can say that this is how we covertly, okay, trying to impose aggressiveness in a very covert and subtle way, in a very hidden kind of way. All right. So the first game that we have over here is blemish. All right. So blemish itself is a small mark of flaw or imperfection. So according to the dictionary, blemish is when you show a small mark of imperfection to your partner. All right. One person pretends to be complimentary but actually puts another down. Right? And ask, for example, take this one for example, and ask a friend whether she looks okay for an important interview. So the friend who is angry that Anne hasn't repaid a loan from last month responds, the new suit looks really great. There's just one little thing. You seem to have gained weight. Your stomach and hips look big, and that suit doesn't hide the extra pounds. The friend is playing blemish over here because she focuses on one thing that is wrong and downplays all that is right. Her anger or resentment is expressed indirectly, as if, right, when you have blemish, when you are practicing blemish, you got a grudge or something which is conflicting within you and also your friends. And when your friend is asking you about opinion or something, all right, you will tend to straight away point out the flaws or things which is not suited or which can cause your friend to be unhappy. Okay. And then we have this game called Nigisok, all right? Or in the long form will be now I get you, you son of a toot. All right, you know that word, all right? In this one, a person deliberately sets another person up for a fall. Now I got you, you son of a toot, something like that, right? So you know from this acronym, all right, this is something when you imply or when you use on a person, all right, for the sake of getting revenge, all right? So take a look at this as this example. Okay, knowing that her co-worker is not a detail-oriented person, Ali asks him to gather some very detailed information. When the report he gives her is missing some information, she criticizes him for being careless. Ali worked to find a way to make him fail and then pounce on him when he did. So this it is a form of you trying to, trying to get revenge or trying to, play somebody to the extent that they will be um, people will have bad perception of them, for example, to the extent that they will be unhappy for the things that you have done to them. All right. And then we have a mine is worse than yours, all right? Whereby people try to monopolize rather than listen and respond to each other. Okay. Suppose, for example, take this one. Suppose you tell a friend that you have 2 tests and the paper due next week, and your friend says, you think that's bad? Listen to this. I have 2 tests, 3 papers, and an oral report all due in the next 2 weeks. Your friend expressed no concern for your dilemma because initially you were the one who was expressing this dilemma. Rather, she told you that her situation is worse. So in this game, people try to monopolize rather than listen and respond to each other. So in this particular mine is worse than yours game, all right, when you are expressing your concern or when you are as if telling them your issue or your problem, they will go back to you and tell them they have a lot of things in mind, all right, they have more problems than you are. I got a lot of things to think rather than thinking of your small problem, all right. Mine is worse than yours, all right. And then the last one, is it the last one? Yes, the last one is called yes, but. Okay. A person pretends to be asking for help, but then refuses all help that's offered. Right? For example, I'm asking for help, all right, from my partner. And then I'm telling her my issue and things, I don't have enough money. And then when my partner offered some options and also help, all right, I refuses all the help that she offered. Doing this allow the person who initiate the game to blame the other person for not helping. At the end, or in the end of the situation, me myself, I was the one who is complaining. I will say that you are not helping at all, right? But then it is actually me who are not accepting or who are refusing to take all the help offered to me. All right. So in the end, I will just be blaming that person for not helping. Okay. Lorna asks her boyfriend to help her figure out how to better manage her money. When he suggests that she should spend less, Lorna says, yes, but I don't buy anything I don't need. When he suggests she might work extra hours at her job, she responds, yes, but that would cut into my free time. When he mentioned she could get a better paying job, Lorna says, yes, but I really like the people where I work now. Yes, but continues until the person trying to help finally gives up in defeat. Then the initiator, all right, which is Lorna, all right, the initiator of the game can complain, you didn't help me at all. You did nothing. You didn't tell me anything that can help, for example. Okay. All right. There are okay, and then we're gonna go straight into the third principle of conflict, which is social groups shape the meaning of conflict behavior. All right. So cultural differences also regarded conflict in a very different kind of manners. All right. So cultural differences regarding conflict is very different. For example, in the French and Arabic country, men debate one another for fun, and nobody get upset or angry. Maybe if we do it right here, all right, when we debate of something, people tend to get emotional and they tend to go up until cursing or something like that, right? And then we also have the differences among social communities, all right? For example, let's have the gender, all right, gender kind of social community whereby we know that sometimes women and men, when they addresses conflict, especially in the Western culture, men tend to be less expressive and men tend to be deviating a bit from the actual conflict, right? Whereas a woman, they are very expressive in dealing with conflict and they will try their best to resolve the conflict even if it hurts them. All right. We can have an example from Gottman 2007, whereby he mentioned that husbands are more inclined than wife to withdraw from conflict. All right, husband refusal to address conflict is a strong predictor of divorce. So in marital issues, for example, we can see that sometimes, I think it's not sometimes, I think most of the times, all right, the man will be someone who will try to withdraw themselves from the conflict. All right. So when they tend to withdraw themselves from the conflict, it is a bad signal, right? Saying that their refusal to address the conflict is a strong predictor of them wanting to get divorced, right? Conflict can be managed well or poorly. All right. So it depends on how you want to manage your conflict. Would you be attentive? Would you try to withdraw yourself? Would you try to exit the relationship? All right. Conflict can be good for individuals and also relationship because we know in conflicting situation we will tend to be very honest and tend to find our point of weakness in the relationship and try to get a solution on how we can resolve the issue or the conflict that we are having. All right, kind of building up the bonds that we have with our friends or partners. Right. There's three orientation to conflict, meaning that the way you approach the conflict. Number one is the lose-lose approach. All right. So lose-lose approach assumes that expressing conflict is unhealthy for everyone involved in the relationship. So this approach it works well when we are trying to figure out if we need to engage in conflict, especially if the issue is less important than others. Right. For example, if we have a very small issue, like just choosing the bed frame that we want to use, or maybe, for example, just choosing, maybe what the color of your shirt that you would like to wear. All right. So you will tend to express, or you will tend to use the lose approach, whereby you will just, um, you know, neglect the conflict because you think it is not worth fighting or involving with. All right. And then we have the win lose approach, which assume that expressing conflict leads to one person benefiting and the other person not achieving a desired outcome. So if you are using the win-lose approach, all right, there will be outcomes which will be very, somebody will gain and somebody will be losing something in that conflict. And the third one is a win-win approach, which assumes that expressing conflict leads to all people involved working together to come up with a solution that is acceptable to everyone. So a win-win approach is an approach where you will tend to come to a resolution or to the solution that everyone will be happy with. All right, so there are four responses of conflict, and this one is asked in your assignment too. Okay, the exit response, neglect response, loyalty response, and also the voice response. Okay, all right. For the first one, we use exit responses when we leave the relationship either physically or psychologically. All right. People who tend to have a loose orientation, all right, assume that nobody can benefit in conflict when it takes place. So they see no point in engaging in conflict and just prefer to avoid it. All right, so they exit the conflict because they think it is not worth fighting for. And sometimes people who see conflict as a win-lose situation may exit physically or psychologically if they think they are losing an argument. Sometimes there are also situations when you think if you involve in this conflict, especially when you are arguing with ladies, you will be losing this particular argument, this particular conflict. So you have decided to just exit the response, or sorry, exit the conflict. All right. So this is, in a way, it can be helpful, or it can be a very healthy approach, because it is not, maybe you are facing something which is not worth fighting for example, just choosing color of shirt. But then, all right, if it is a win-lose situation whereby you can change it into a win-win situation, all right, this will be an unhealthy exit response, because you are not dealing with the conflict that you are having. You tend to avoid yourself from the conflict because you know you will be not winning. Okay. Number two is we use neglect response when we minimize or deny the conflict exists. Usually, the lose-lose and win-lose orientation may prompt the neglect response for the same reason that each of those orientation is associated with exit response. Right? Somehow, neglect and also exit response, they tend to have the same, almost the same features. All right? Either the person thinks that escalating the disagreement will harm everyone, or the person thinks that he or she will lose if the conflict is allowed to progress. All right. This one, you will be involved in the conflict, but along the way, you will try to neglect. All right. You will try to neglect the argument. You will try to neglect the fact that you are experiencing the conflict. Right. So in a way, this is also an unhealthy way of approaching or responding to conflict, because you do not want to deal with the issue, you do not want to deal with the argument. All right. And you tend to feel that it's okay for the other party to win. I prefer to lose. I don't want to have any more arguments. Not to say that conflict is all about arguments, but for us, conflict is more of arguing about things which is improper, things which are negative, or things which should be changed in a relationship. So you need to deal with the conflict, all right, rather than using exit and neglect response. You need to go into the conflict and try to solve the issues that you are having with your friends or partners. Okay. And then we use loyalty responses when we remain committed to continuing the relationship and choose to put up with the differences. Sorry, not the put up, to put up with the differences. Loyalty is the most likely to spring from a lose-lose orientation towards conflict. All right. So sometimes, right, you will tend to be loyal to that particular relationship, although you know that you are having conflict over there. But the most important thing is to be loyal and to be stagnant with the relationship. Okay. Believing that engaging in overt disagreement only hurts everyone, people may choose to remain loyal to the relationship and not try to work through differences. But sometimes, all right, when you are being loyal to the relationship, all right, it will also cause you to feel a bit of dissatisfaction, or you tend to be dishonest in your relationship because you know you are on the losing side, for example, or you know that there's something happening in the relationship, all right, that you are trying to deal with. But the most important thing is to remain loyal to the relationship. All right. And the last one, we use voice responses when we actively seek to talk openly about and resolve the conflict. So the voice response is fostered by a win-win orientation towards conflict. It takes belief in yourself and in the other person to give voice to problems and disagreement, and by voicing concerns also expresses belief in their relationship. So the best one, all right, will be the voice responses towards conflict, because both of the parties, you and also your partner, or maybe you and your good friends, will express, all right, the same concern, will express your opinion, will express your disagreement to the extent that you will come to a resolution that will make everybody a winner in this particular conflict or argument. Okay. Right. So these are some examples of unproductive communication patterns during conflict. So we know when we have when the conflict escalates, for example, all right, you will tend to have some kind of communication patterns that you will use in dealing with the conflict. Okay. In the early stage, right, communication fails to confirm individual. You will try to, as if ignore that the person matters to you, or as if ignore that you are actually in a good relationship or you have a good friendship or something. with that particular person that you are dealing with in terms of conflict. All right. And then negative climate and mind reading. Of course, the climate and the environment during that time will be very negative, and you will tend to be mind reading the person. For example, whatever it is that he is saying or about to say, you will think that everything is negative and negative. Okay. And then during the middle stages, all right, kitchen sinking will happen. All right, kitchen sinking is actually a metaphor of when you are having argument, for example, in the kitchen. All right, um, let's say husband and wife. All right, so when they argue, the wife tend to throw dishes or knife or glasses or everything, and then only leave the kitchen sink behind. All right, because the kitchen sink is attached to the tabletop or something, so it cannot be used. So kitchen sinking is a metaphor of that kind of worst kind of unproductive communication patterns. All right, so you will tend to tell everything that you have kept all of these times. All right, you are actually arguing about the shirts, but then because of kitchen sinking, you will tend to tell him everything that you are dissatisfied with. For example, the color of the house, the handbag that you bought, what else, the gift that he gave to his mom but not gave it to you, for example. So kind of like you remind him of things that you are unsatisfied with. All right, and then cross complaining, whereby you will be complaining and then the other person will also be complaining to you, cross complaining. And also there will be frequent interruption. All right, people, you want to talk, your partner want to talk, your partner want to talk, you also want to talk during that time. All right, and in the later stages, all right, there will be counter proposals. All right, you will tend to discuss, but then every form of discussion you cannot come up with a solution. There will always be proposal from you and also your partner. I like to wear red, and then your partner say, I don't like red because it looks it looks very flashy. I want you to wear something a bit darker, for example. So counter proposal we always come in, and then there will be excessive meta communication, right? Especially non-verbal cues, right? So when we talk about meta communication, we know that we will be avoiding uh, to talk about certain issues. For example, we keep silence, or we redirect the conversation to something else, or we will just make faces, okay, during that particular unproductive communication patterns in conflict, okay? But then how would you deal, right? How will you deal with conflict? How do you communicate in dealing with conflict? So there will be constructive communication patterns during conflict. In the early stage, communicators confirm each other by recognizing and acknowledging each other's concern and feeling. You will tend to be open and you will listen, and your partner will also be open and listen to you. And in the middle stage, you will stay focused on the main issue or agenda building, all right? And you will tend to practice bracketing, whereby both of you confirm each other's concern. Actually, I don't like you wearing red because it's too flashy. But you will confirm your concern back. But I know, but I have a lot of I have a lot of things which are in red. My pants, my shoes, my cap, for example. All right. Don't interrupt except for clarification. Recognize and acknowledge each other's point of view. And in the later stages, contracting or working to take part of each proposal, put them on the table to agree upon a solution everyone can accept. So in the end, you will come to a conclusion whereby you will present all of the proposals on how you resolve your conflict and put it into an agreement whereby can be accepted by both of you or everyone involved in the conflict. So these are example of constructive and unproductive communication. Right, you can read this on your own later. All right. So how do you deal with conflict in terms of skills? All right. So you attend to the relationship level of meaning that you need to know that in dealing with conflicts you are currently dealing with is either IE, IU, or IDAO kind of communication. So usually you're going to involve in IU and also IDAO communication, and especially when you involve in IDAO communication, this person matters to you. You have a very good relationship with this particular person. Communicate supportively, listen mindfully, not just listen but also listen with your mind. Own your feelings, thoughts, and issues. Be responsible of how you feel, how you think, and the issue that is happening right now. And check for perceptions. Okay, do not mind read. All right, do not make other people misperceive you. Look for points of agreement. Look for ways to preserve the other's face. Right, do not humiliate your partner when you are dealing with them in conflict, right? Imagine how you will feel in the future. So if things are not going well, just imagine how bad it is, and how, you know, how crucial it is to the prospect or the future of your relationship. Okay. Social media and conflict exists in social media environment. So key advantage to online environment is the ability to step aside during a conflict. So in an online environment, all right, one thing is, when you are having a conflict, you can straight away shut down your social media or something, right? When you are in physical or face-to-face kind of conflict, you don't have a mechanism for that. Oh, sorry. Actually, you don't have a mechanism to step away or to run away from the conflict. All right. Check perceptions of others to avoid conflict, and flaming, excessively insulting others online. All right, always occur. All right. You are causing conflict, and also if you are dealing with conflicts, you tend to lose the other people's face. All right. Yeah. How to respond with flaming? By ignoring, right? Maybe you just ask the moderator to intervene. Let's say if you are having an online conversation like this, all right, and if someone is flaming you, all right, ask the moderator to intervene, or maybe just to stop the session, or maybe to just mute the other person who are flaming you, and continue the conversation privately. If you still feel unsatisfied, or you want to resolve the conflict that is happening like that, all right, go to another platform, or maybe just reach the person personally and try to converse and come to a resolution. All right. So guidelines for effective communication during conflict: focus on the overall communication system. All right. Time conflict purposely. All right. Aim for win-win conflict. Okay. Please go for a suitable solution. All right. Honor yourself, your partner, and also the relationship that you are having, and show grace when appropriate. All right. Show that you respect. Show that you appreciate. All right. Show that you are very grateful with your partner or friends that you are involving in conflict with. Okay. Right. I guess that's all from me. Okay. Thank you very much. All right. And I guess I'll see you again in the next session, inshallah. All right. Assalamualaikum, and have a very good day, everyone. Bye-bye. Thank you.